Hear more sounds from Raiders Alumni Wellness Weekend, plus head coach Antonio Pierce, and more on Monday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast, June 24th, 2024.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thanks so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts to get the latest edition of the show as soon as it becomes available. As always, if you're checking us out on YouTube, you know we appreciate that in a major way. The show grows each and every day. That's because of you and my man, Ari. Ari does a great job each and every day having us up on YouTube, looking good, sounding good. We shout him out. He's on Twitter, at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well, at your boy Q. 254. Coming up on the show today, as I'm still on vacation, this is day 3 of the best of shows. You're going to hear from Jay Schroeder and Nick Bell. They were part of the Raider Alumni Wellness Weekend. Really fun stuff, really fun conversation. You'll hear that. I was a guest on Amber Theoharis and Kirk Morrison, former Raider linebacker show on Sirius XM Radio. You'll hear that conversation. And the head coach, Antonio Pierce, part of the Raiders Roundtable, Raiders Media Day with JT, Eric Allen, and myself, were all part of that. Really big honor to be a part of that. You'll hear all those conversations coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Again, it's the best of show as I'm on vacation, getting a little R&R, little downtime, relaxation time with me and the wife. We'll get right into it after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's hear from Jay Schroeder and Nick Bell. They are part of the Alumni Wellness Weekend. It's funny, I sat down at 2 p.m. Pacific time, had no idea who I was going to talk to, what I was going to talk about, whatever the case may be. I just knew that there was going to be some alumni in the building, and they were the first two to walk in. Jay Schroeder, I had seen him around town like 2 weeks before this event happened, and he looked over and said, "Q, what's up?" And I literally had the headphones on, and I'm like, "Man, I'm on the radio, but come on over and sit down." So Jay Schroeder and Nick Bell sat down with me and actually really started things off for the Alumni Wellness Weekend. Here's that conversation. Sitting down with Nick Bell and Jay Schroeder. How are you guys doing? This is a nice Raiders mental health weekend going on. How is this for you guys?
This is amazing, okay? This what the Raiders have done. You know, the NFL started doing this a couple of years ago, and Shannon Jordan, who watches over all us alumni.
That's correct.
She's been with us a couple of years, and, you know, she finally just said a while back, she looked at me, she goes, "We need to do that."
Yeah.
And because they're all about taking care. And she's like, "I'm going to run it by Mark." Mark was like, "Yes, let's go." So Mark has put this whole thing on, and it's fantastic, you know, from mental health, physical screenings, heart screenings.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So it's been good.
Yeah, it really has. And it just got started. The DJ's here. You guys just walked in the building. We're just getting going right now. But, I mean, Nick, for this organization to give back and make sure they always take care of their alumni like they do, how big is that for you being a former player?
It's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
I want to tell you straight up, I don't believe there's any other organization doing this.
Yeah.
Not at this level.
Right.
Not just this weekend. Okay.
Right.
We have an alumni weekend, which
this is
like a teaser.
This is the one we can talk about.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
This is the week. This is the week that makes you come back, I think.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But it's just, I mean, it's really special. I get to see, you know, all the fellas come in and start to mingle with each other. And again, going back to the mental health, that's such a big deal, right? And I think it's been maybe 5, 6, 7 years that everyone started to really focus in on it. But this has been a big deal, Nick, for a long time. It should have been addressed.
I can talk about it real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
First of all, in Iowa, I saw a counselor. Okay? People don't know that. I'm a very private person.
Yeah.
But because of the mental health weekend, I'm going to open up a little bit. So I saw a counselor, and then I got into throws. I didn't see anyone. My life was very, very stressful.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that I see a counselor now.
Okay.
I've been seeing one for about a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And so it's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with saying I need a little help.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong admitting that, you know, you don't have it all together.
Right.
And I know that that's the truth anyway. You know, any guy I can call and talk to, and they'll be like, "What's up?" Mm-hmm. You know, it won't be a problem.
Right.
But
we just got 32 walking in the building right there.
There's the greatest of all time.
Look at that guy.
32 walking in right there.
Look at 3-2 right there, walking in cooler than the other side of the pillow, right?
One of the best things about this, all of us getting together and talking about mental health. We all grew up going, it's okay, we can get through it ourselves.
That's right.
Right.
For
and
real.
as football players, everyone looks at you and say, man, you guys are the toughest of the tough. You guys,
that's right.
You can't be broken, anything. But, you guys go through things.
And we have the mindset that we can always turn it on and make it happen.
Right.
That's the thing. You don't get to this level without making things happen for yourself.
Right. No,
There are some things that, you get there and it's kind of, but once you have to make that happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of commitment. Our motto, right? Commitment to excellence.
Right.
There's a lot of commitment. There's a lot of dedication. There's a lot of consistency that you have to have. And that's totally taxing.
Yeah.
And it makes you, it's hard to cope with it sometimes.
Right.
So, and the cool thing is, Mark has been doing this alumni weekends and all that for a while, and it gives us a chance to talk.
Exactly. We were just
sitting out in the hallway, okay?
Yeah.
And discussing, and we realized, you know what? We're not in this alone.
Yeah.
Everybody's going through stuff,
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a great opportunity. I tell people all the time, football is so unique other than every other sport, because when you're playing at this level, you're in a grind with each and every one of us 11 months out of the year.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And I mean, they become your family.
Yep.
They are your family. And even after all these years, I don't see somebody for 6 months. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
He's still my brother. We're still, it's like, the question is now, the conversation has changed to, it's not, hey, how are we going to get ready for the season? It's no, how are we really doing?
How are you doing?
What's going on?
Because Jay and I used to ride to the game together.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I would pick him up.
Yeah.
I'd go pick him up. We'd ride to the game together.
Wow.
I mean, to the hotel the night before the game.
Yeah.
And then we ride to the game together. And it was just that we had a system, a buddy system.
Yeah.
Right? It was good. And it worked for us.
Right.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing about this sport.
Yeah. And Nick, how much do you think that this can help someone that's just a regular guy like me, right? Never been in the trenches, but being able to hear guys that are the heroes, the former Raider players and saying, hey, it's okay to ask for help. Then it makes them feel like, you know what? It's easier for us to ask for help as well.
I think there'd be a lot less frustration in the world.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have any way to express how you feel, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? That's what it comes down to.
Right.
Emotion is something that you lock it up, it will explode.
No doubt.
And I think understanding and seeing others go through the struggles you have, I mean, what a better way to go, hey, I'm not alone in this thing, right?
Right.
And look, we've all been on and off the field. Everyone in this room has struggled with something.
Yeah, I've struggled with a lot.
A lot,
and
it's okay to admit that.
It's okay.
A lot.
Yeah,
I won't necessarily get into my story, but I've struggled with a tremendous amount in my life, and that's okay.
Yeah,
it's taken 55 years for me to get here,
right.
But I'm good with it.
And you got a smile on your face now.
Always,
right?
If I don't smile, something's wrong.
Right.
That's it.
Exactly.
If I'm not smiling, something's wrong.
Right.
Right.
I'm with you. That's exactly how I feel as well.
If I'm working out, that's a different story, though. Because I'm sucking air.
You got a purpose. You got a purpose.
Because working out is work now.
Oh, it's real work now.
Right.
I sweat harder now than I did long before.
I love it. Well, I'm so glad to see you guys. You guys actually opened up the show for me. So,
look at that. There we go.
Hey,
there we
Nick
go.
Bell and Jay Schroeder opened up the show. They're like, yeah, Q, you don't need to talk anymore. Let's
we'll just take over now.
Yeah,
go ahead and
you
take
guys
a break.
just have a conversation.
Go take a break, man.
Look, tell me, it's Friday too?
Oh, hey, well.
DJ playing. Got the pool. I mean,
man.
We can kick it, man. We can kick it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm so happy to be able to catch up with you guys real quick, spend a few minutes, but enjoy the weekend, enjoy everything that Mark Davis, the Raiders organization. Before I let you guys go, let me ask you this. AP is back as he's the head coach now. I wanted to get your thoughts. Just how are you from a distance even observing the team? What do you think for this year?
Well, I haven't seen the team in person yet. Mm-hmm. However, I have great anticipation, and I think that we're going to tighten up the defense, we're going to tighten up the offense, and I think we're going to do something different this year that's going to put us a step above.
You feeling the commitment to excellence, the Raider way, is back within the organization?
Well, it's always been there. It's just that sometimes we all get caught up in ourselves, which is why this weekend is taking place.
There you go. What do you think, Jay?
Well, I was there last year when he took over. I was at the game before and the game when he took over, and there was just a new excitement in the building. And I say that for this respect, because the week before, everybody was playing with pins and needles. And, Nick, you can't play that way.
No,
next week they came out, and you could see it from the moment they stepped on the field to warm up. They were loose. They were able to enjoy themselves, okay? Football's not a perfect game. You're not going to play a perfect play. You're not going to play a perfect game. You better enjoy it, and you got to have fun doing it because, man, it is a grind.
Yeah, it is. It is. We've been out there seeing OTAs. Next week is mandatory minicamp, and then, be a little bit later down the road, they'll be in Costa Mesa for training camp. And
I'll get to come see them then.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
I live down that way, so actually I coached, but it's about 10 years, 7 years ago. I coached at Costa Mesa High School.
Okay.
I was defensive coordinator there.
Yeah.
How big do you think this, or how much of a difference do you think it'll make being away to training camp, right? Instead of being at home where you go back to family, but be off campus and be together as brothers.
It's important because you need to bond.
Yeah.
And offense takes the longest to bond.
Yeah.
Defense, you can bond because it's all about bam, 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 bam.
Right.
Offense, you got to coordinate.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I don't know. I can't remember how many meals we sat down and had in the middle of the day.
Exactly.
But, it was like, because he came in, he was this bright-eyed rookie. He's like, hey, I'm going to do this. And I was like, whoa, big fella. Whoa, big fella.
That's what he said to me, for sure.
Whoa. Let's get this down first before we start, to go.
Yeah.
But that stuff doesn't happen when you depart.
Yeah.
Because, look, you're having breakfast, lunch, dinner together, and after team meetings, that's invaluable for a team to get together.
Well, we're looking forward to it. I'm loving to see how they're putting this season together and what this team is going to look like, but there's some high anticipation, and I feel pretty good about them, and I definitely feel good about you guys leading us off and spending some time with us on Raider Nation Radio.
All right. Thank you
Glad
very
to be
much.
here, Cube.
So there's the conversation right there with Jay Schroeder and Nick Bell from the Raiders Alumni Wellness Weekend. And the cool thing about this event was, especially when you had a couple guys talking at the same time, similar to those that heard my Marcus Allen and Tim Brown conversation, they really got to chop it up with each other. Right, that was the fun part. And even just being at the event and watching and looking around as I'm doing my radio show, seeing all the camaraderie, seeing the way that these guys are talking with each other. And a lot of them hadn't seen each other in a very long time. But, Jay Schroeder and Nick Bell saying that they are roommates together at training camp. And that kind of stuff was really special. And as I mentioned with the Marcus Allen and Tim Brown, you just get out of the way. You don't screw it up. So hopefully I didn't screw that one up either. Again, I just thought that was a really fun show. One of my favorite shows I've ever done on Raider Nation Radio 920. So that was Jay Schroeder and Nick Bell from a Raider Alumni Wellness Weekend. Coming up in segment number 2, Amber Theoharis and Kirk Morrison from Sirius XM Radio. They actually had me on a guest from their show talking all things silver and black. Two of my favorites, Amber Theoharis and Kirk Morrison. You'll hear that conversation coming up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. We'll get to that after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is FanDuel. And it's summertime. You know what that means, right? Baseball, the NBA Finals, obviously those are over, and a whole lot more. And you can bet on all of it with FanDuel. You can have player prop bets. You can do a lot. There's a lot of fun baseball bets, really a lot of fun. First inning bets where you can decide who's going to score, if there's going to be a first inning score, whatever the case may be. Pitching bets, strikeouts, as far as that goes. A lot of player prop bets in baseball that make the game even that much more fun. Well, right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet anything from, as I mentioned, player prop bets when it comes to scoring runs, striking out, stolen bases, certain bases, like get bases that you collect. Like if you go to bat 4 times and you've got to get 4 bases, so you can get a single, a double, that'd be 3 right there, or maybe a home run, that's 4 bases right there. So there's so many different ways to look at it. You just got to check it out at FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can be a big winner. You can add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. I always like, having different guests on my radio show to talk about the silver and black, or talk about quarterbacks, or talk about draft, or talk about whatever the case may be, especially when you can get a former Raider on as well. Well, the role was reversed. Amber Theoharis actually hit me up, and I want to say maybe it was Memorial Day. She was doing a show with Kirk Morrison, former Raider linebacker. She said, hey, can you come on and talk all things silver and black? And if Amber Theoharis hits me up and wants me on her show, I'm definitely going to be on her show, especially when Captain Kirk is right there side by side. So they were on Sirius XM Radio. They invited me on the show. Here's that conversation.
All right, and with that, let's bring in our buddy, your boy Q Myers from Raider Nation Radio. You can also catch him on ESPN Radio Game Night and the Locked On Raiders podcast. I listen to it every single day. Q, welcome in to the Blitz with Kirk Morrison and Amber Theoharis. Good to have you on.
It's great to be on with two of my favorite people, man. This is going to be fun. I always love talking football, and you guys are two great football minds, so let's have some fun.
All right, looking forward to it. We love you too, Q. And, I was just talking about the Raiders and how we are trying to decide who I would predict could be Coach of the Year if I had to pick a candidate coming out of the AFC West. And one of my points with Antonio Pierce is, the biggest question to me is, what will the Raiders do without that adrenaline shot in their arm? They had it after October 31st when Josh McDaniels and that regime was over, the Dave Ziegler regime was over, and all of a sudden they get this guy, the players get this guy they love, a players coach, Antonio Pierce. He gets us, man. He knows us. And we're going to play defense for him, and we're going to beat the Chiefs on December 25th, and we're going to make a statement. And then we're going to get him the job. Hey, Mark Davis, we're going to call you. Max Crosby's going to say, I don't know, maybe I want to be traded. Devontae Adams, I don't know, maybe I want to be traded if you don't pick up. Whatever they were saying, they got him the job. But now, Q, what happens when the dust settles and then they have to go into a season with Antonio Pierce without the adrenaline? What are some of your thoughts as the Raiders? You've been there every day for the OTAs.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation because it's put up or shut up time, right? I mean, and I'll be 100% honest. I've always been the guy that says don't hire the interim, right? And whether that's fair or not, I just always felt like because you do get that adrenaline rush, that it's just different when it goes into an off season, and then all of a sudden you go into training camp and you're putting it together. But this just felt different. This felt different from the jump. I mean, it took me about 3 weeks, and I was pounding the table. Yep, go ahead and hire that guy. He's got it. Just like you said, everything you rolled out about the team and what he was able to bring to the table and give them hope and give the fan base hope as well. And, I talked to the fan base quite a bit and just realized that it was a different ball game. And I'll tell you, being out at OTAs, the pace of the practice, the way that they're communicating, some of the new ideas that they've brought to the practice field, including something that's probably not super new, but it's something new for me as far as seeing the video screens out there on the field. So when the defense is taking a break, they can go look up in real time of what they just did and how they can adjust it. The offense, the same thing. I just think that it manages your time really well. And that was one of the big things. If you go back to the NFLPA survey, what were the players complaining about the most when it came to Josh McDaniels? He wasted a lot of their time. So it just seems like Antonio Pierce gets them. It seems like the practices are the way that they need to be. But at the end of the day, it's a production-based business. So it's put up or shut up time. I feel good about it, but because I feel good about it doesn't mean anything until they get out there on the field and get it done.
Q, I know last season there was a guy who left the team, right? Not left the team, but was was there for a long time, and he was no longer there anymore. Derek Carr, the quarterback. And I thought, look, honestly, that number that he wore last year or his number 4, should have been not necessarily, you just don't give it away.
Right.
If it had been a skill position player, I understand it. I get it. But for another quarterback to wear that number, I didn't really like that, but I understood it. But now it's over with now. And I look at their new quarterback, number 12 for the Raiders, who seems to be the early leader in the clubhouse in terms of the competition between Aiden O'Connell and also Gardner Minshew. What have you seen or what have you heard about this new quarterback, number 12, Aiden O'Connell?
Well, I mean, he's the guy that Antonio Pierce has backed since day one. Since he took over November 1st, he named Aiden O'Connell the quarterback, and he didn't vary from that, right? He didn't move off of that at all. Even when people like myself questioned it after that Vikings loss, when they lose 3-0, they can't score anything coming off their bye week. I thought, okay, it's time to make a switch. I mean, you have a healthy Jimmy G, he can give you a game. Whether that was the right answer or not, it didn't matter. He stuck with Aiden O'Connell, and he's continued to stick with them. I've seen a leaner Aiden O'Connell. I've seen a guy who seems like he's a little bit, I don't want to say more focused because I think he was focused last year, but that was his rookie year. And Kirk, you know how it is. It was his rookie year. Everything was swimming. He was a 4th-round pick. He wasn't expected to even be out there playing, and all of a sudden you're the starting quarterback for the Raiders of all teams. So, yeah, and going through a coaching change, a new offensive coordinator that had never called plays. So he was swimming, but now he looks a lot more comfortable. He looks like he's, understanding his role, and there's going to be a hell of a competition between him and Gardner Minshew. There's no doubt about that. Both guys want to play, but like you said, leader in the clubhouse, I think it's Aiden O'Connell's job to lose, right? He's got to go out there and show that he deserves the job, but I do feel like come day one when the Raiders are taking on the Chargers at SoFi Stadium, as long as Aiden O'Connell handles his business, he'll be under center. Talking
to Q Myers, your boy Q. You can catch him on Locked On Raiders podcast, as well as Raider Nation Radio, Las Vegas, ESPN 920, and on Sirius XM Channel 80 on ESPN Radio. So, Q, other than the quarterback, because I'm not going to lie, the quarterback position does have me concerned. I feel very comfortable with so many parts of that team, but the quarterback, you can't win without an elite quarterback. It just is what it is. The Trent Dilfer days of winning a Super Bowl, I believe, are past in the NFL. But I also do know to have, if you're going to put all of your chips into the defense basket, if you're going to say, all right, we are going to be good on offense, we're going to be great on defense, we're going to give up 16 points or less a game and be one of the most dominant defenses of all time, and that is how we're going to compete, especially within the AFC West, against somebody like Patrick Mahomes. If you're going to do that, you have to have not only a strong defensive front, which everybody's excited about with Christian Wilkins and with Max Crosby. You have to have a really strong secondary.
Yep.
You know, Warren Sapp used to always say to me, in NFL Network, the front and the back end work together. And that's how it is. And there were rumors out there that when the Raiders had their first pick in the draft, not even rumors, Terrion Arnold said that Antonio Pierce told him this, that there was a coin flip between Brock Bowers and between Terrion Arnold. Now, Antonio Pierce has since denied that. But, man, if they didn't go quarterback, if they didn't trade up to go quarterback, I would have loved to have seen. There were so many good corners on the board at that point. I'm not – Brock Bowers, great. 12 personnel, excited. Can't wait to see what they do with that. But, man, do you feel like the cornerback position is still a question mark for the Raiders?
I do. I think that it's really going to be a good competition in camp to see who could step up and be that guy. I mean, we know what Jack Jones did in a small, window of opportunities last season when he got picked up off of waivers from the Patriots, and I believe that Jack Jones can be that one guy to hold down one side. And Nate Hobbs, we know what he brings to the table at the slot corner, but who's going to be the guy across, right? And that's why going into the draft, and Amber, I said this a bunch of times, I thought Terrion Arnold was the pick, right? I didn't think that they were going to be able to get a quarterback that they really wanted. I mean, I thought Michael Penix might have been available, but I still wasn't even sure if he was their guy at 13. So I had actually slotted in Terrion Arnold as that dude. I just felt like he had the same mentality as Antonio Pierce, and what really would have been a really good addition to that secondary, but it didn't happen. So that's fine. So now you have Brandon Faison. You have Jacorian Bennett, who was a fourth-round pick a year ago. They did go out and get DeCab Richardson from Mississippi State, so he's there as a rookie. So he's going to be able to add something to the mix as well. But it's going to be a competition of who could step up and be that guy to complement across from Jack Jones. And I do think that that's a huge question. They're banking on the fact that their front end's going to get home, right? And it's going to make it easier on the back end. Like Warren Sapp said, the front end works with the back end. They're banking that the front end's going to live in the backfield of the opposing team and that the secondary is going to have less time to cover. But, yeah, that's a big question. I do believe that who's going to be that opposite corner. That's a big one in training camp.
Well, Q, we wish we had more time with you. You're just a wealth of knowledge always, especially covering the Raiders. But for all things sports, especially NFL, you can catch them on ESPN Radio, game night Monday through Friday. And always check out Locked On Raiders podcast. It's one of my favorite podcasts. You can download it wherever you get your podcast. And also, if you're in the Vegas area, 920 a.m., Raider Nation Radio. Hey, Q, I can't wait to see you back out there coming up with some mandatory mini camps when training camp opens.
Absolutely. We got to do this again.
We can't wait. We'll have you back on.
So there was the conversation right there with Amber Theoharis and Kirk Morrison, Sirius XM Radio, talking all things NFL. It was funny. The very next day, I had John McClain on my radio show, who obviously has covered the NFL for a very long time there in Houston. And he said, man, the funny thing is I turned on the radio yesterday and I heard some guy on Sirius XM Radio talking about the Raiders, and he had a name. His name was Q too. It was pretty funny. So you never know who's really listening, but he broke down the conversation that I had, as you just heard, with Amber Theoharis and Kirk Morrison. Coming up in segment number 3, the guy that everyone loves to hear from, Antonio Pierce, the Raiders head coach, part of the Raiders Roundtable, Raiders Media Day, JT the Brick, Eric Allen, and myself. You'll hear that conversation coming up in segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to take you back to the Raiders Roundtable, Raiders Media Day, and we had a lot of different players and coaches that we were able to talk to, but there's nothing like talking to the head coach, right? Antonio Pierce, he's brought the hope back to silver and black. He's brought the Raider way back to the silver and black. He's just brought a lot of juice and energy, and the coaching staff is fantastic. I've talked about them quite a bit here on the show or the radio. Whoever wants to listen, I'll tell them that the coaching staff is something that I'm very excited about. But talking to the man himself is always fantastic. So this interview starts off with JT asking about the changes for AP since last year at Media Day. Good stuff here with Antonio Pierce. Check it out.
A lot's changed for you from Media Day last year. What a journey it's been a year ago from today. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I don't even think I came outside from Media Day. Let's start there. But no, it is. It's been a great opportunity, fun, exciting. Looking forward to training camp. Looking forward to getting all the guys in the pads, bonding, building what we've been doing over the last several months in this off-season program, and just let it all fly, let it all lay out when we get on that grass.
Coach, has it become easier to have your style kind of overtake this organization? Because I know it's unique, and not everybody was on board with it, but I think us in the building understood what you were trying to accomplish: physicalness, toughness, belief in yourself, preparation, all those little details that you saw. And I go back to, the interception that JJ got, and him talking about how you were able to kind of give him that freedom to be able to believe. And has it become easier to kind of coach that way?
It has, because when your top players, when your best players believe, it's easy for everybody else to fall in line, right? So I think for me, you deliver the message, you don't harp on it, you empower your coaches, your coordinators, and then your players to own it. And I think the cool thing about this whole situation is, okay, AP got, I had the vision, I had the plan, but there's no plan and no vision without people. We had the right people in place, both with our staff, our players, the guys that we drafted, the guys that we brought in through free agency. They understand what the Raider way is. That was our number one conversation. Do you get the culture that we're setting and that we're building? And the best part about it, it's not AP setting the culture. It's the players, it's the building, it's everybody doing it. It's collective, and that's what you're seeing.
Coach, how important was it for the players and coaches that you brought in, especially the coaches, to have that energy, that match the same energy? I'm seeing all these former players out there that are coaches like a Cadillac Williams, like a Gerald Alexander, these guys, and they just have that energy, and it's being displayed even in OTAs.
Yeah, different game from when me and EA played. Coach is a little bit older.
Yeah.
They told you what to do. They demanded you did it. Yes, sir. First so you ran. But now it's a little different, right? And you want guys, and our players really relish on guys that they can relate to, that been there and done it, but more importantly, that have the love for the game. And more importantly than all that, they want to be here. EA hit on it. This is different.
Yeah.
AP's is different. I'm a different coach. I get it. It takes a different individual for us all to work together. But it's okay for you to be different. Right. You could be you, because I'm going to be me, but we're going to do it collectively the same way with the message. Like I always keep going back to the vision, the philosophy, and the culture that we want to build here.
Coach, what about you personally, your schedule with all your commitments now in the community, alumni, players want to talk to you, your family, travel, Coach de Mesa coming up. How do you handle? Take us through a day, getting up in the morning, your fitness, your mind, and when you put your head down at night.
Can I start today? How about today?
Today.
Haven't drove my Impala, the red Impala I drove on game. I haven't drove it since we played the Denver Broncos.
Okay, wow.
Got asked, hey, can you bring your car up today? So I'm not thinking, I haven't started that bad boy up in 6 months. I go downstairs at 4:45.
No, the better.
I said, oh, God. I'm over there from jumper cable. They were looking at me crazy. I get AAA out there, 6 o'clock, we get it done. Car's up here, clean, we're ready to roll. But, it's just things like that. But I think more important, when you're in this position, especially in the offseason, you got to touch so many different people. And I said it in my first press conference, it starts with the fans, it starts with our alumni, and it starts with our organization. And whatever I could do each and every day to help somebody be there, speak, say hello, go through the requests that they have. That's a part of the beast. But more importantly, I hired some really good coordinators.
Yeah.
Patrick Graham, Luke Getsy, Tom McMahon. And I trust those guys to get the job done. So if AP's out the office for an hour, or if AP has to go away, they don't have to worry about me looking over their shoulders. And I don't have to worry about if they're doing the right thing, because I trust them. But When you're in the seat, though, it's hard. It's not even 24 hours. It's 25. You always hear that. Like, it's legit. It's real. But you do got to make time to take care of yourself. AJ, Ricky, and our organization do a great job with nutrition, getting a lift in, just taking care of your body. You got to be smart. And more important, like I tell our coaches, we got to get our rest. The dog days of, being at work for 16 hours and not being rested and prepared and wide-eyed and ready to go, those days are over. You got to come out here and really give these guys everything you got. And I think that's the most important thing that, look, we can be about film and ball all day, but you got to take care of yourself and your family. Come here with the right mindset and get ready to work.
Man, that's – where did you get that? I mean, where did that game plan come from?
Yeah, that's a good question. The good and bad part about my career is I played for a lot of coaches. In Washington, had 3 head coaches, 4 D coordinators. Then I had Tom Coughlin, 2 D coordinators there. So I was able to just pick a lot of things that I liked. And then obviously, EA knows this. We worked at ESPN, and there was a lot of things that I learned there, from organization, how to treat people, how to manage people, how you schedule things, how do you match up talent together, right? It was critical. I mean, you on radio, we had to have a certain rapport to kind of play off of one another, and that was key. So where did I get all that from? It's a little, obviously, it's AP is my background, but it's also all those gentlemen that coached me. And one that's here with us now, Marvin Lewis, somebody that's helped guide me throughout my career.
You talked about trusting and trusting your coaches. And Marvin Lewis, Joe Philbin, guys that have been there, done that. How important was it to have those guys on your staff to be able to lean on if you needed to?
I always say, players need to be coached up and coaches need to be coached up, right? Swallow your pride, check your ego at the door. I got 2 gentlemen that have been in the National Football League over 75, 80 years. I'll be a fool not to bring them in the building.
Right.
Not just for me, but for our coordinators. You know who's benefiting more than AP from Marvin Lewis? Patrick Graham. Who had one of the best defenses of all time?
Yeah.
The Baltimore Ravens with Marvin Lewis running the show.
Yeah.
How about we pick his brain? Then you got Joe Philbin, who was in that system that Lou Getsky's bringing here way back with the Packers, been a head coach, been through his ups and downs throughout his career. Just came from college, so he took a step back, came here. Yeah. So now he has fresh ideas. And I think the best thing about our staff is that we get together, we go in that room, it's a round table, we throw things against the wall. Some things stick, some things don't. But everybody goes in there with an open mind. Check your ego again at the door. Your way ain't the only way, and we'll find the right way.
Coach, the media, you just mentioned it. I think a lot of the media, especially nationally, who aren't looking at the Raiders the way they should, are going to try to turn this into a quarterback question. Who's going to be the quarterback? I look at Christian Wilkins as a complete game changer here. He could turn the ball over at midfield. You're in field goal range quickly with Carlson. You can take a shot with Devontae or Trey. You can run the ball and take some clock there. The defense, with that signing to play along Kuntz and Max, how different is that now as you look at the scheme and how you're going to win close games?
Really different.
Yeah.
And you don't know that until you watch practice. And you with Christian each and every day. The other day we went over here to the Aces, played a little basketball, a little team bonding. You know who the best player was? Christian Wilkins. Not even close. We're all sitting there like, what in the world is this?
Right.
300-pound man dunking, and doing all this stuff that he's able to do. But more importantly, the love, the leadership, the passion, the desire to win. We got to bring in winners.
Yeah.
We got to bring in guys that want to win, that's going to strain. There's 2 gentlemen that's in this building every day before coaches. Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins. They happen to be on the same D-line playing next to each other. God bless everybody else. Don't worry about our quarterbacks, buddy. Worry about yours. Worry about yours.
How much better does that make everyone on that defense, having that big fella in the middle, though?
Man, just having Christian, again, along with Max, and how they work, the effort, the pursuit, the consistent perfection of chasing to be the best at their position. You're foolish if you're not on the training. You're running with these guys.
Right.
You guys will see here in a couple of days as we go through minicamp. Just watch them run. Just watch our guys. Watch the effort. Watch the passion. Watch the bond, the excitement that they play with.
Yeah.
That's been every day since we walked back in this building.
Their energy from station to station is incredible.
And I get it. The rah-rah, the AP, the energy, all that stuff. No. It ain't AP no more. Yeah. You got to deal with them dudes. AP don't play. I got the headset on, y'all. I'm watching. You got to deal with them suckers. But more importantly, everybody on our team now has taken ownership to be the best they can. Right. That's why we had 30, 35 guys here the entire offseason. And then when we got here, close to almost 100% participation throughout the offseason program.
Talk to me. How's my guy Jack doing?
Man.
Yeah, man.
God, Jack.
Yeah. How's Jack doing?
Jack's doing good, man.
Doing
you know
good.
what? I think we've all settled around Jack. Jack is a unique individual, special talent.
Yes.
Take the talent away. The person. Jack is like any of us that is somebody that wants to be loved, appreciated, coached hard, but he does demand respect.
Yeah.
And they got to go both ways now. So I think our leaders have done a great job of constantly rallying around him and putting their arm around him. Our coaches, Ricky Manning, the constant communication, the daily updates to just, hey, man, you good? How's everything going? Figure out Jack as a person before you worry about Jack the corner.
Right.
And then you can coach Jack much better. I've dealt with him since he was 13 years old. I get it.
I know
I
that.
get it. And he's a special talent. When Jack is 100, the Raiders are in a good place.
Yeah.
And we just got to keep that going. And it's a process. Listen, this is his third year in the National Football League. We're talking about like this guy's a 10-year vet.
Yeah.
He's just now coming his own. He hasn't played a full season. We're hoping to get Jack a full season. He had a great offseason. He's worked his tail off. We got to keep growing from where we were last year.
You draft corners in the 4th and 7th round. Jacorian Bennett's coming back. Worked with him last year as you were a coach, now the head coach. It's important that other corner. And Nate Hobbs, I've said this about Nate Hobbs. I mean, I thought he could play on the outside just as good as in the slot here. But that second corner and that competition, coach, what do you look to see here when we come up to training camp?
Well, I think the key word you hit on was competition. And that's something that we really harped on. And you hit on it earlier. When you have a quarterback competition, it's competition everywhere because all eyes is on everybody. And that corner room is very talented. It's young. It's got some guys inexperienced. But what they got is a 1-2. They lean on one another. They're asking questions. They're here working out before practice, after practice. But more important, this is their now second, third year in the system for some of these guys, right? When you're a rookie and you get thrown in the fire week 1, that's not an easy task.
No, not at all.
Not many of us can do that. I didn't do it week 1. It was like week 2 or 3. EA, what about you? What week was it as a rookie? Did you start?
Week 1.
Okay, EA special. Hey, he's looking at me like,
Look at
don't ask that
him
question.
flex on you like that.
But it was difficult, right? Because you go through your ups and downs. And I think with Bennett, and what I like to see with our rookies, like, we don't need to throw them out there in the fire. If they're not ready, don't put them out there because you get baptized the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
But a great offseason by Bennett, being in here with JB each and every day. What I love about JB, he asks questions. He's a student of the game. He's always, give me more, AP, give me more. He's asking different coaches. You got a guy in your room that's coaching you, Ricky Manning, who played at a high level.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a great asset that we have with our coaching staff, having guys that played it that can calm the nerves of a young player who, I need to go. Slow down, young bull. You'll get there one day.
So there was the conversation we had with Antonio Pierce, and we talked to Max Crosby. We talked to Jackson Powers Johnson. We talked to Trey Tucker. We talked to Tom Telesco, the Raiders GM. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers. The Raiders did a fantastic job. Just keep bringing us guys. Devontae Adams, he was part of it. Just a lot of really good, fun guys to talk with, and we did that all a 4-hour show for the Raiders Roundtable. But that was AP right there with that and part of that conversation. So that's all I got for today's show. Coming up tomorrow, Tuesday's show, the president, Sandra Douglas Morgan. She was a part of the Raider Alumni Wellness Weekend. You'll hear that conversation. She'll lead us off. And then Eric Allen. I had a good conversation, about 20-minute conversation with Eric Allen. This is before we found out that he wasn't going to go to the Hall of Fame, but just let you hear what the Hall of Fame, the opportunity meant to him, even just getting an opportunity to possibly make it in. Now, he didn't make it in, but really good conversation. EA is a guy that I consider to be a really good friend. So you'll hear Sandra Douglas Morgan on tomorrow's show, and also my conversation with Eric Allen, who, in my opinion, should be in the Hall of Fame. That's all coming up on Tuesday's show. So until then, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.